So by now you may know me as a BMW person, but truly I am a Miata person with a BMW problem. This is my favorite thing in the world. This is a 2006 NC Mazda Miata. We bought it in 2010 with about 50,000 miles on it, and it was a pretty good buy back then. And a year or two later, we started tracking it and just kind of casually just going to a few weekends per year. And then we started getting more heavy into it and started modifying it little by little. And I think around 2016, 2017, we just turned this into straight track duty only. When we got started in the track hobby, I was still working full-time and still am working full-time. And I was also in school full-time, and my degree required a lot of studying. So pretty much every track weekend that we had, you would catch me at the track between sessions with my little table set up and all my books studying. But I was just dedicated to all the track days that we did and to this little car. So I just want to give you a brief overrun of the car, what we've done to it, and what we're going to do to it today. All right, so we're going to start front to back. These mods definitely didn't happen in this order. We started very small, just brakes, brake fluid, roll bar, tires. That was mostly it for a couple years. And then we slowly started to add little things here and there, but it's a Miata, so it doesn't really need much.
And take things away.
Yeah, and we added lightness. So, starting from the front, this little cheapo lip actually was a pretty big help with some front end lift that we were getting. It's not a bad little mod. Same with the hood vents. They serve two purposes. They're actually, they helped with some of the shakiness we were getting at higher speeds for a Miata, some lifting that we were getting, and also it was getting way too hot under there, and the hood vents helped a ton with that. We used to have to like bring fans after every session to try and cool off the motor a bit, and this has simplified things a lot. So this looks like a pretty normal Miata engine bay, but it's not. This is a 2.5 liter motor from a Ford Fusion. The block is basically the exact same size as the 2-liter motor that comes with the Miata. We had to make very small changes. I think we just had to trim the PCV housing and swap the oil pan over. And we also had to take the balance shafts off and put a plug in there. And also the Ford Fusion was front wheel drive, so we did have to grind down a couple little things for clearance purposes, but it was a very cheap and easy swap to do. And we did this in 2016, and I think we were one of the first people to adopt it. And since then, it seems like the 2.5 liter swap has just blown up. Every person we know now with NC either has a 2.5 swap or will have a 2.5 swap very soon. All right, and we have a cold air intake on here, upgraded aluminum radiator, and PPE long tube header. That's about it for power mods. It did have to be tuned after we did the 2.5 swap, and right now we're getting 170 horsepower, 180 foot-pounds of torque at the wheels, and with a driver in the car. Now it was weight balanced to my husband since he's bigger than I am, and with a driver in the car, full fluids, full tank of gas, it is 2,400 pounds. So pretty decent power to weight ratio for a naturally aspirated Miata. So the brakes are a StopTech C43 kit with 2-piece floating rotors. We are running StopTech pads currently, the ST33s that came with the kit, but they're great pads. And in the rear, it's still the stock Miata brakes. Or do we have, yeah. In the rear, it's still the stock Miata brakes with Carbotech XP12 pads. I think we're probably gonna upgrade those. Either we're gonna go to the RX-8 brakes in the rear or just upgrade the pads for now, because since we upgraded to the StopTech kit in the front, our front bias is just overwhelming compared to the rear. So when we stop, like, we're losing traction in the back because it's braking so little. So that's gonna happen sometime soon. And suspension is BC Racing coilovers. And I know they're cheap coilovers, but we've had them on here forever. And I guess because the Miata is such a light car, the shocks don't seem to wear out like other people are experiencing with BCs. I really like them for what we do. Yes, probably need to upgrade in the future, but for now, it's a Miata, it's cheap, and I have cheap coilovers on there. And we have a Racing Beat front sway bar, no rear sway bar. It actually handles a little bit better that way.
A little more forgiving.
Yeah, a hell of a lot more forgiving. Okay, so next is the interior, or lack thereof. We've stripped most of it with still keeping it somewhat attractive. We did have the dash more stripped before, but for aesthetic purposes, we did put some of it back, and it's just a couple pound difference, so who cares? Yeah, but we stripped out all of the door hardware, speakers, window units, so we 3D printed holders now for the windows, and then we unscrew these at the track and pull the windows out that way, so then lose a couple pounds of glass and then don't have to worry about it breaking if the worst happens and we get into an accident. So, interior wise, it's pretty basic. We still have the stock wheel in there because we do still drive this on the street occasionally, so having the airbag there is a good peace of mind just in case. Awesome. So we have a Sabelt seat and harnesses, or it's Sabelt? Sabelt?
Yes.
Sabelt.
Sabelt.
All right, so we have a hard dog roll bar that you can't see underneath our fiberglass hardtop. This is a Treasure Coast replica hardtop. It gets the job done, and it's crazy light.
About
now,
18 pounds.
Yeah, it's very light. Now, you definitely don't want to do this if you're still driving your car on the street for several reasons, most of which is right here.
It is no longer weather resistant.
No, it is not weather tight.
Or spider resistant.
Or cold resistant. So this is a little custom center console piece that was made specifically for the track. There's a hole drilled here for a charger that's hardwired into the car. Normally, one of our phones would go right here, which is running our lap timer. And then this phone down here is connected to the torque app, and we keep that up all times to monitor temperatures and whatnot just while we're on the track. It's pretty cool. I'll have to turn it on when the battery's charged. Magnets. Yeah, AC's gone. Heat's still there, thankfully, and this little guy is my booster seat.
Because you're 5'2" and I'm not.
Yeah, because I'm small. It's the sound of quality. All right, wheels. I forgot to mention what these are. These are, Jesus Christ, what the hell's the name of the company again?
There's 60, just the word.
There's 6 ULRs. I can't think of the name of the manufacturer.
949
Thank
Racing.
you. 949 Racing. The wheels on this car are 949 Racing, 6 ULRs. You may notice that this wheel is a different color than the rest of the wheels on the car. That's because the Miata took a small hit.
That's the wheel that should be on the car. Say that.
So that's the correct wheel that was on the car before. Go up closer so you can see the curb brush. But it kind of slid into a wall a couple years ago.
That's still the blue from Homestead Motor Speedway.
Yep. So anyway, but it's a track car, so who cares?
And that's only a street set of wheels.
Yeah, and this is only the street set of wheels. So this is a very old set of Continentals that are more or less plastic play school tires now. These are the track wheels and tires. Same 949 Racing 6 ULRs on 255 NT01s. So that's the Miata, and today we're prepping it for a track weekend. Pretty excited, it's the beginning of track season here in Florida. So, gonna get it up in the air, swap wheels and tires over. First, we're gonna be swapping the brake pads, because burnt those off over the summer, and also doing a full brake fluid flush. Over the summer when we last tracked them, the brake pads were getting a little low and it transferred a ton of heat through the lines, so our Motul 600 boiled, which is the first time that's ever happened. So we're switching to 660 just in case we're ever approaching lower life on the front pads again and we have heat issues, so just trying to be safe. Alright, so now with the wheels off, gonna pry the pads back to push the pistons in to make room for the new pads. So just gonna grip the metal edge of the brake pad against the rotor and just gently and slowly compress it. So here's the new pad compared to the old. Yeah, we've worn through them quite a bit in not that long of a time period. So Stop Tech makes it insanely easy to change your pads.
It is super tight.
Yeah, the backs weren't. There we go. Cool. Torque spec is snug. Click. Track day bro pro tip. Get all of your tire boogers off of the surface of your wheel, both front and, most importantly, inside of the barrel of your wheel. Stuff like this will throw off the balance of your wheel. You don't want that on there. This one has a ton. So I'm gonna brush all that off. You can just run it over with a gloved hand or a brush, whatever you want. And then another little piece of advice. Get some thick foil duct tape and put it over your wheel weights. At a track day, these are gonna get really hot and standard wheel weights will not withstand that and the adhesive will come right off. All right, so brake pads are changed. Now we're gonna do a full brake fluid flush. We were running Motul RBF 600, but since with the new Stop Tech kit, we're generating more heat as the pads get low, we've decided to upgrade to RBF 660. It can withstand more heat and hopefully we won't run into another soft pedal issue. It's the first time that's happened since we started this madness. Gonna use the power bleeder to do the brake bleed today, and then at the end we'll do it manually with the pedal just to make sure there's no air bubbles in the system, and should be quick and easy. All right, so we sucked all the old fluid out of the reservoir and now we're gonna be putting this in manually instead of putting it in the bleeder. The reason being, I don't want old fluid sitting in the bleeder between brake bleeds. I'd rather put fresh fluid straight from the bottle to the reservoir and use the power bleeder just as a pressure generator to get the fluid through the lines. I'm gonna splash it all over the engine bay, honey. I'm a professional. Look at that. Look at that nice. Pop this on here. Get it nice and tight. Got pressure in here now, so now we're going to start with the brake furthest from the reservoir, which would be the rear passenger side. All right, so I'm going to pop this on here and pop my bleeder on the end. Bleeder hose. Okay. So gonna open it up and watch the dirty fluid come out. Gonna open it up. Jesus Christ. There's 2 bleeders on the Stop Tech kit, front and rear. Gonna start with the front. And do yourself a favor, if you also have a big brake kit, keep paper towels on hand and catch any brake fluid that drips out of here, because you will cry yourself to sleep when the brake fluid eats away the finish on your nice pretty big brake kit. Keep my paper towel right here to catch any fluid around the edge of it. The pressure bleed's done. Now we're just going to do a quick manual bleed, just once or twice on each brake, just to make sure that 1, we have pedal pressure, and 2, that no air bubbles are coming out of the system. You don't want to find out on track that you have an air bubble. Don't think we do. We're always super careful with it, but just in case, this is an extra safety check and a great way to waste brake fluid. So, got my helper in the car. He's going to pump the brakes twice and hold them, and when he holds them, he's going to yell it out. I'm going to let some fluid out until there's no more pressure, and then we'll do the process over again. So pump, up, hold.
Holding.
Closed. Pump, pump, hold. All right, pump, pump, hold.
Holding. Okay.
Closed.
Off.
All right, pump, pump, hold.
Holding. Okay.
All right. Last thing left to do, torque down the wheels. Check tire pressure. Oh yeah.